Hello and welcome to today's Sunday Sit Down. This video has gone through a few unique things. Right now I just tried to do it live because I thought that would be fun to do my current top 10 favorite games list live. But I remembered why I don't do that, which is that the live video, I can't see myself live while I do it, which is really weird. It's like I'm watching myself 5 seconds ago, so it just doesn't work well. I wish I could do that because it'd be fun to interact with you while I do one of these videos. And two, this is a little later than normal. I don't know if you follow this exactly on Sunday, but I really struggled with this top 10 list because I've noticed that there are some things that have changed about, I think, the way that I'm perceiving these games. Not that I like games any less. There are actually more games than ever that I really enjoy. But I found it difficult to shift games from the honorable mentions over to the top 10. And I think there are some reasons for that. I'm finding that the games that I am enjoying more and more are games that I enjoy teaching. And that's something that I observed about my own designed games a while ago, but I think I'm just starting to observe that about games designed by other people and published by other companies, that I end up teaching them a lot, or being taught them, learning them, or remembering how to play them after not playing them for a long time. Because the games on this list are games that I really love to get to the table quite a bit, but that might, I might not get to the table for a while because there are other games to play, and then I want to get it back to the table because it's a game I love. But if it's really tough to remember how to play or how to set up, then it may not actually get to the table. I might be less excited to actually play it. So I think that's part of the reason why this list has trended towards a little bit of lighter games, even though I still really enjoy medium heavyweight games. I think because of those reasons, because of the teachability, the learnability, the how memorable they are, and how easy they are to set up, I think all that is impacting which games are actually on my top 10 favorite list. Obviously, no Stonemaier games are on this list. There are definitely some that would be if they were eligible, but I don't consider them eligible for this list. We have 8 games. Maybe someday I'll do a top 10 ranking of our games. We'll see. I don't know. People have asked me to do that. I'm never quite comfortable to do that. And again, these are my top 10 favorite games that I'm eager to play on an ongoing basis. So one-time legacy and campaign games are not on this list. As much as I enjoy them, and they're some of my most memorable and favorite gaming experiences, they are not on this list. They're not even eligible for this list. Time Stories is the one exception, not because it's so much an exception, because I get to play Time Stories on an ongoing basis due to the new modules. So it does apply to my criteria, my personal criteria. This is my opinion. These are my favorites. So don't go in the comments and say that I'm wrong, because this is my opinion. You can share. You're welcome, and I hope you do. I hope you share your current top 10 list in the comments, and I will love to see it. But this is just my opinion about my personal taste about games that I am really excited to get to the table now and on an ongoing basis in the past, present, and future. Yeah, I think that's it. Let's jump in. I'll do the honorable mentions real quick. I'll just run down the list. I won't talk about them. Diceforge, Castles of Mad King Ludwig, Blokus, Telestrations, Skull, Deep Sea Adventure, The Mind, Welcome to, Scotland Yard, A Feast for Odin, Architects of the West Kingdom, Keyforge, and Dice Throne. Keyforge and Dice Throne came really close to making the list, but I actually couldn't decide between the two of them, which I think ended up hurting both of them a little bit, because I really enjoy so much about Keyforge, one of my favorite games from last year, and I've really enjoyed my plays of Dice Throne this year. So I was debating between the two of them, which one should go on the list, and I ended up not putting either of them on the list. So let's get to the actual list. Number 10 is one that has been on the list before. I think it wasn't on the last one, but it is Clank. I really just love Clank. It's easy to play. It's fun to play. I love games where I'm running into something and then trying to get back out with stuff, like Deep Sea Adventure. Clank is the heavier version of Deep Sea Adventure. The deck building, the progression of the game, the variety, the number of different cards that come up in a game of Clank. There are cards that I've never even seen in Clank because they just maybe haven't come up, or I haven't noticed them when they have come up. I love that the expansions add new maps. So the expansions, I think, do help this game, but the base game alone, I've had a blast with the base game of Clank. And I just get excited thinking about playing Clank. Even though I haven't actually played the base game in a few months, but even just thinking about it, I get excited about it. So Clank, wonderful deck building, bag building, competitive dungeon crawl game. Love it. Love it. In fact, I would actually say, I know it's not a classic dungeon crawl, but it is one of my favorite dungeon crawl games. I think Time Stories being the only other dungeon crawl game that I really do love on this list. It'll come up later, of course. So that is Clank. That's number 10. Number 9 is Isle of Skye. I just got to the table a few weeks ago, just a week ago actually. This is one of my favorite games, just hands down. It's the type of game where it's a bit of an auction game, like an I price you choose auction game, where every player gets to price a few of their tiles, and then you get to decide, okay, which tiles am I going to buy from the other players, or which tile am I going to buy from the other players, and you're trying to price your tiles so that you either get a lot of money from the other players, or you price it out so other players don't even buy those tiles. I love the sense of satisfaction of feeling your aisle grow. It's super easy to teach. I like the way the end ground scoring works. How there's a lot of variety to the order in which they come out. That I think is a brilliant thing about this game. That there's so many different goals in the game to go after, but the order of those goals really matters. So I might have the exact same goals from one game to the next, which probably will never happen. But even if I did, because they would likely come out in a different order, they would impact the way that I'm building my aisle in a different way. Because of that order, which I think is just brilliant in terms of how to add variety to a game. That is Isle of Skye, my number 9. My number 8 game, this one, this is tough. This was kind of a debate between Welcome To and this game. Not that I had to choose a roll and write game, but I've just genuinely, really, really been enjoying On Tour. It is a roll and write game where any player rolls 2 dice, reveals some cards, and you need to write down a number and the inverse of that number. So if it's like 1-8, you need to write down 1-8, an 18, and then an 81 somewhere on your map. You're creating a tour route for a rock band or a band, and the puzzle of this just works well with my brain. It's random, and I like the idea that you're constantly like mitigating the best and worst case scenarios in terms of the different routes. You're trying to plan outs for everywhere so you can string together as many ascending numbers as possible throughout this tour that you're creating. And the components are beautiful. I like that it's not on paper using whiteboard, which I wouldn't always like. I like the artifact of writing on paper in a roll and write game. But in this game, what I found that's really nice is because it's on stiff cardboard with dry erase markers, that more people can actually play because you don't need a table to play. You don't need a flat surface. Everyone, the last time we played, we were on couches. We kind of all just reclined on these couches and had our mats in front of us, and we played On Tour. I found that I get really excited about playing this. I'm hesitant to put new to me games on this list because I don't want to just react to the thing that I'm excited to play right now. But I think I'm going to be excited to play On Tour for a long time. And really, I just love getting this game to the table. That's On Tour. That was my number 8. My number 7, another fairly new to me game, but I couldn't shake how much I enjoy this game, is the Quacks of Quedlinberg. I always mispronounce that, but it's Quacks. This is a bag building game where you're pushing your luck. So 2 things that I really love. I love bag building. I love deck building. Not deck. The same game is bag building instead of deck building. And push your luck, the element of that. And you're building this engine throughout the game of you're improving your bag, the things in your bag. But there's also a little bit of luck. There's this fun of reaching into your bag and figuring out what you're going to pull out of that bag. And every time I played it, we've had a new mix of tiles on the table that give the tokens different meaning. Like the tokens that you can buy in the game, they have different meanings depending on which tiles that you actually used. And I just played yesterday, so it's fresh in my mind, but I've played probably half a dozen times at this point, and every time I just have a blast playing this game. It is, again, it's easy to teach, it's easy to get to the table, it's not hard to remember how to play this game. And man, I have a really a lot of fun playing Quacks. I like that element of just like pushing just to get a little bit further and to be the player who got the furthest that round. I like that when you bust in this game, this is a great thing about this game. When you bust, it's not terrible. When you bust, like early in the game, you could choose between currency and victory points. Normally you get the currency and the victory points if you don't bust. But early in the game, if you don't get 2 points, it doesn't really matter all that much. You just take the currency. So you might as well have a little fun and push your luck and see if you bust or not. But I like that when you do bust, it doesn't feel all that bad in this game. That's the Quacks of Quedlinberg. So that's number 6, or that was number 7. Number 6 is Downforce. I found that I really do enjoy racing games. I've kind of been surprised to find that, but I enjoy games because as much as I love games where you're accumulating a ton of points in the game, that's great. That feels really good. But I like the thematic element of race games, that you are just trying to push as hard as you can to get to the end. But the nice twist in Downforce, and really the special thing about it, is the positive player interaction. I think it was definitely on my list of games with great positive player interactions, which is that in Downforce, when you play a card on your turn, you're just playing one card, most of the cards you have different colors on it, and all of those cars must attempt to move in a specific order. And so when it's not your turn, good things are still happening. People might be moving your cars. And when it's your turn, you're trying to play a card in such a way that the other cars can move as little as possible, which adds a really nice thematic twist to it. Sure, some of the cars are probably going to move, and that's fine. You get that positive player interaction, but you also have that, you're trying to time it just right so that your car moves ahead and the others kind of get stuck and log jammed with each other, which I think is a brilliant strategic decision. Again, really easy to teach, really easy to learn, and I love the expandability again with the maps. I'm kind of seeing a pattern here with different maps in some of these games. I think On Tour could definitely have a different map system someday if you go on tour in Europe or South America or someplace else. That's Downforce, my number 6. All right, we're in the top 5 now. Number 5 is Fantasy Realms. Fantasy Realms is one of the best combo games that I've ever played. This is a game about building combos and getting potentially a ton of points from it. It's a very simple game. You start out with a hand of 7 cards, and at the end of the game, you're going to have a hand of 7 cards too. So you're just building the same hand. You're cycling cards in and out to try to end up with the best 7 cards in your hand, and then you reveal them all and score them at the end of the game. And really, you score them at the end of the game. You're not just getting 1 or 2 points from any of these cards. You're comboing together different cards and combinations to get potentially hundreds of points from the cards. I just get excited. This is a game that I just get excited thinking about what will happen, because you really have no idea what your opening hand will be, and it might be awesome or it might be really tough, but you can use the game to make that hand more lucrative by the end of the game. It's just it's a wonderful game. I'm blown away by how good this game is. It's easy to teach, it's easy to learn. It's a little daunting at first because you're given this hand of 7 cards with a fair amount of text on some of them, but that's all you have to look at in the game. You're just looking at those cards, and you're looking at a few cards in the middle of the table that come out one by one, so you have plenty of time to look at those cards as well. That's Fantasy Realms, my number 5. My number 4 is a game that's been on this list for a long time, and that is Tzolkin, the Mayan Calendar. The designers of this game came out with a new game called Tzolkin that I always mispronounce again as well. This game, and that game is fine. I think it's a solid game. This game is wonderful, though. This is the game with the gears, if you're not familiar with Tzolkin. But I love when games use time as a resource, and that this game is definitely doing that. You're kind of timing, not only you're timing things, but you're also deciding how long can I let my workers stay on these gears to get the things that I really want, or do I really need to pull some of those workers off the gears right now? It has tons of different engine building with the tech tracks, the tiles that you're gaining, the I think they're called the cult tracks, the starting tiles. This is the heavy Euro game that I am almost always wanting to play. A Feast for Odin was on my top 10 list the last time I made this. Still definitely up there. I mentioned it on the honorable mentions, but right now I think that the heavy game that I want to play, if I'm going to play a heavy game, is Tzolkin. That is my number 4. My number 3, what is my number 3? Hanamikoji. One of my favorite 2-player games. This game just makes me feel devious, and I love it. I love that in this game you are constantly bluffing. You are it has that I cut you choose element. There are good things happening when it's not your turn. Like if on your turn, if you choose the tile that says, okay, pick 3 cards from your hand, your opponent gets to pick one of them and you keep the other 2. I love that I am engaged when it's your turn, but I still get to feel a little devious when I'm the one putting those 3 cards out on the table. It's such a simple game, but it has so many interesting decisions. And I have a blast every time I play this game. This is a wonderful game now. Hanamikoji. That's my number 3. My number 2 has been my number 1 in the past. A friend is borrowing it right now, so I don't have a copy to show you, but that is Time Stories. Time Stories is it is everything that I want a thematic game to be. It tells a wonderful story. It leaves a lasting impression on me. It's like watching a 3-hour movie that I get to participate in. It has a time track, which I love. It has different characters that you get to be involved with. It has these really immersive stories in each module. And there's an overarching story that apparently will soon come to an end. I think the final module will have the end to that overarching story. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. But the game will also continue. That's why this isn't classified as a campaign game for this list. This is a game that I want to play on an ongoing basis whenever a new module comes out. And I think they're switching to a system called Time Stories Revolution after this, which will be like standalone modules where you don't need the base game. You just buy the standalone module and play that module. So I'm looking forward to trying that out and seeing what they do with that, seeing what worlds they explore in Time Stories. There's no real reason why this game isn't still my number one. I truly love Time Stories. But there was one game that I don't know if I've ever actually put on this list before because I haven't thought about. I don't play this game tabletop very much. But in the last year, I have started playing it with friends whenever a new set comes out. And that is Magic the Gathering. Normally, I play this game online when a new set comes out. I play a few drafts. I love Magic drafts. But in the past year, whenever a new set comes out, I just buy a bunch of packs and I invite friends over and we play a single draft where we play one game against every other player. And I have had some of the best gaming moments over the last year playing that, and I get excited about the next set that's going to come out. I'm just excited about the future of those experiences that I have with friends when I get to draft and play Magic with my friends. In my opinion, it's a brilliantly designed game. It certainly has its flaws, like I think Keyforge has kind of fixed some of the things that Magic struggles with, but I still have a blast. There's nothing quite like opening a pack of Magic cards and getting a card out of it, and then being passed another one where that still has a bunch of awesome cards in it, -1 for the other player that took it, and then building your deck out of it and experimenting with that deck against other players. I have a blast playing it. So Magic the Gathering is my new number one. It has not been on this list before that I can think of. Those are my top 10. Just my opinion, my personal favorites. This could change over time. This will change over time, and I'll be back in 6 months to update this list. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the games that I mentioned, games that you've played on this list, games that you're curious about that haven't played, if you have any questions about them. And I would absolutely love to hear your list as well, whether it's a top 3, top 5, top 10. I can promise you that you will be respected in the comments of this video. No one's here to tell you that your opinion is wrong because your favorites are your favorites. And I think that's awesome that you have those opinions about your games. I look forward to hearing your list. That's it for today. That's my top 10 list as of March 2019. Thanks.